Are you a webcomic creator thinking of making your own website, but you don't know where to begin? Well, stay tuned, fellow creative, because this is the tutorial for you. In the 31 years since the birth of the World Wide Web, websites have grown increasingly complex. While it's still totally possible to build a website using a text editor alone, to make a webcomic site, you're going to need a few more tools in your workshop. In this video, I'll show you how to build your own webcomic site using WordPress. I'll walk you through each step in the process, from getting a development web server set up on your computer to uploading a finished website to the internet. Here are the tools you'll need. A text editor. No, not a word processor, a text editor. There is a difference. TextEdit on Mac and Notepad on Windows will get the job done, sure. But I recommend using something a little more robust, such as BBEdit for Mac or Notepad++ for Windows. I'll be using these apps in this tutorial. A web development server. This may sound like a lot, but it's actually really straightforward thanks to an application called MAMP, which stands for Macintosh Apache MySQL PHP. Despite the Macintosh in the label, it is also available for Windows, and, in my opinion, easier to use than the more accurately named WAMP server. WordPress. A comic site will eventually have hundreds of pages of content to manage, so it'll need a solid content management system. WordPress is easy to install and has a ton of features. It can feel somewhat cumbersome and maybe even a little overwhelming for the beginner, but that can be mitigated with the right WordPress theme. WordPress theme. Speaking of WordPress theme, I've spent some time building a dedicated webcomics theme for this tutorial, which you can download at my GitHub page. It has all the basics you'll need to display and navigate through your comic pages, character bios, news updates, gallery pages, and links. Plus it has a few visual customization features to give it a bit more personality. Go to github.com/eljahara/generic_webcomic, then click on this button here and download it as a zip file. Hosting and domain. Of course, once you've built your website, you'll need a place on the internet to put it. That's where website hosting comes in. You'll want one that offers a database, since that's necessary for WordPress to function. I personally use Laughing Squid and have been for years, but you may find another hosting company works better for you. A domain is simply the address of your website. You can register a domain through Namecheap, which is what I use, or any number of other companies. FTP client. Once you have your website built locally on your computer, you're going to need this tool to upload it to its new home on the internet. Free options you can use are CyberDuck or FileZilla. Both are available for Mac or Windows. There's no place like 127.0.0.1. So, with your tools ready, it's time to start setting up your web development server. It's the factory where you build your site before uploading it to the showroom floor. Website root directory. The website root directory is where you'll be putting all of your site files. In Windows, you can put your sites folder in your home folder. Since I configured my home folder to be on an external drive, my sites folder is on my E drive. On Mac OS, the sites folder already exists inside of your home folder. Now open up your sites folder and use Shift-Control-N to make a new folder called Webcomic, all lowercase. Remember where these folders are located because you'll need that info in a moment. Now you can install your software if you haven't already. Don't run MAMP yet. There's some setup that still has to be done before starting that up. And I will walk you through that right now. Setting up MAMP. On Windows, open cmamp bin apache conf and right-click on httpd.conf to open it up in Notepad++. I'll have Mac instructions in just a moment. Press Ctrl F to open the search window and enter vhosts, all lowercase. Click Find Next or press Return. Where it's highlighted, go to the beginning of the line and delete the hash symbol, also called the octothorpe. Now press Ctrl S to save and close the file. In that same window, open the extra folder and open httpd-vhosts.conf in Notepad++. The entries in this file will tell MAMP where to look on your computer for the local website address you create. In this case, when you go to webcomic.local, it will look in the webcomic folder in your Sites folder. For me, that's on my E drive, but it may be different for you. Save the file and close. On the Mac, the MAMP files you need to edit are in a slightly different location. Open Applications, MAMP, Conf, Apache to find your httpd.conf file. I'm going to right-click and open it in BBEdit. Now, just like for Windows, search for vhosts and make sure the hash symbol is deleted. In my case, it already is, so I can close the file. Then open Extra and open httpd-vhosts.conf in BBEdit. Add the path to your webcomic folder and the webcomic.local address, just like you see here. Then save and close. Okay, one more thing to set up for MAMP. On Windows, open C, Windows, System32, Drivers, etc. Here you'll find the hosts file. Don't open it yet. The way to edit this file is to run Notepad++ as administrator. If your Notepad++ icon is in the taskbar, you can right-click it, then right-click again on Notepad++ in the drop-down menu and select Run as Administrator. Windows will ask you if you want to continue. Say yes. A new Notepad++ window will open in the Administrator mode. Now you can right-click on Hosts and open it in Notepad++. Here you want to add a new line above the bottom line and type in 127.0.0.1. Then press the Tab key and type webcomic.local. This tells Windows what IP address to look for with a given URL. Since the IP address for webcomic.local points to the computer itself, it'll look on the hard drive. Save and close. To edit the hosts file on a Mac, you'll have to use the terminal, which lives in Applications, Utilities. Open up the terminal and type in the following: sudo nano/etc/hosts. Press Return. macOS will ask you for your password. It won't display anything, but it's there. If you didn't typo your password, you'll be in the Mac version of Administrator mode. Now, just like in Windows, add 127.0.0.1 tab webcomic.local to your hosts file. Press the Ctrl-O, yes, the actual Control key, not Command, and then press Return to save the file. Then to exit, press Ctrl-X. Now type exit and press Return to conclude the terminal session. Done. Phew! Starting MAMP. Now we're finally ready to start up MAMP. Go ahead and open it up. It will automatically start the Apache and MySQL servers. Go to the File menu MAMP and go to Preferences. Start Stop, you can just leave alone. Ports, you want to make sure are set to 80, 80, and 3306. If they're not, just click the bottom button to set them. For PHP, you want to make sure you're using at least version 7.3. I'm using version 7.4, so no problem there. For web server, make sure it's set to Apache. Then select your document root folder. This is your Sites folder. Remember where you put that? MySQL just tells you the version, and Cloud you can ignore. Click OK. The server should reboot. If it doesn't, just press Stop Servers and then Start Servers. Now click on the Open Web Start page. If all goes well, your browser will open up to the MAMP local home page. Database setup. On the MAMP page, click on Tools and select phpMyAdmin. This will open up a new tab with a utility to help you set up your database for WordPress. On the left, click New. In the pop-up button next to the Create button, scroll down toward the bottom and select UTF-8 MB4 Unicode CI. Now for the database name, type in webcomic, again, all lowercase. Now click Create. Database setup is done. Close everything up and go ahead and minimize MAMP so you don't accidentally quit it. Installing WordPress. Now we're ready to install WordPress. Go to your Downloads folder and unzip WordPress and the WordPress comic theme. And drag them to the desktop. Select the generic webcomic folder and delete the version number at the end so it just says generic-webcomic. It might be an underscore instead of a dash, which is also fine. Now go to your Sites folder and your webcomic folder and drag just the WordPress folder into the window. Now open WordPress, WP Content, Themes, and drag the generic webcomic theme folder into the window. Great. Time to open up your browser and enter http://webcomic.local and optional / in the address bar and press return. If you see this screen, then you have success. Click on the WordPress link and it will begin the installation process. Select your language of choice and click Let's Go. Your database name is called webcomic. Your username is root. Your password is also root. And the bottom two fields you can leave alone. Go ahead and click Submit and then click Run the installation. Now enter your webcomic's name. I'll just use webcomic demo. And your username of choice. How about Sparky? Then a memorable password, probably not the one WordPress auto-generates. Then enter your email address and check the box if you want. Then click Install WordPress. If all goes well, you'll see a success screen. Click the Login button to enter the admin backend. Just say Sparky and my cryptic password. And check Remember Me and click Login. Configuring WordPress. At last, we've made it to the WordPress dashboard. Let's clean it up a bit. Dismiss that. Go to Screen Options and uncheck Site Health Status. At a glance, an activity you can keep. Quick Draft can go away, and so can WordPress events. Then just drag this over here, and that is much easier to see. Now head over to Appearance and select Themes. There we can activate the generic webcomic theme. Doing that presets a few settings, which I'll go over now. General Settings. You can change the tagline to whatever you want. I'll change it to just a humble webcomic site demo. For site address URL, delete WordPress and the trailing slash. Go ahead and set your time zone. I'm in Pacific, so Los Angeles. If you want to change the way the date is displayed, you can do that with these settings here. Here you can set what day starts the week. In my part of the world, that's a Sunday. And click Save Changes. There isn't anything you need to set in writing just yet, so move on to reading. For these, I usually change it to 12 posts, but you don't have to. Leave the radio button on your latest posts. Click Save. Discussion you don't need to worry about because comments aren't available for this theme. If some enterprising individual wants to add comment functionality, they're welcome to do so. I don't use comments myself because this is a webcomic site, not a social media site. Speaking of media, the image settings are pre-configured when you activate the generic webcomic theme. You'll only need the thumbnail generated. If you have medium and large set to something other than 0, you just wind up with a cluttered media folder with a bunch of duplicate images at various sizes that you're never going to use. So just go ahead and leave those at 0. And clicking on permalinks, choose Post Name. Go ahead and click Save again. This way you can name your pages page 1, page 2, page 3, etc., and they'll show up like that in the URL. Finally, for privacy policy, you don't really need to worry about that because the site doesn't take anyone's information. No comments and no shopping. And the only cookies it uses are for administrator login, which is necessary if you want to be able to use WordPress. About page. Time to make your first page. Going up to Pages and click All Pages. Privacy policy? Yeah, you can trash that. And then let's edit the existing sample page by clicking on Edit. First thing to change is the name. About. It doesn't make sense to have an About page with an address that says Sample Page, so click on that Edit button there and change it to About in all lowercase, and then click OK. Next up, click in this box and select all this text. Delete it and enter whatever is appropriate for your comic. You don't have to put character information here because there will be a separate characters page for that. Now over here, I'm going to change the date by setting it to something in the past. You can also set it in the future to schedule an update. Leave the format set to standard for now, and you can ignore page attributes. Click Update. Now let's go check out the website by hovering over this, and I'm going to right-click to open it in a new tab. Wait. What? Whoops, let's fix that. Go to your Sites folder and open up your webcomic folder, and then open up the WordPress folder. Now right-click on index.php and select Copy. This works the same on Mac OS. Then go back one folder and paste that index.php file here. Now right-click and edit with Notepad++ or BBEdit if you're on a Mac. Here we need to add WordPress and a / to this line. Save and close. Then go back to the browser and refresh the page. There it is, the generic webcomic theme and the start of your webcomic site. Chapter titles. Click on About and have a look at your first page. Right down here, you'll note that a section for chapters is automatically included, but uncategorized maybe isn't the best name for a chapter. So let's change that. Go back to the admin page and go to Posts, Categories. Here you can edit the chapter names and URL slugs. For the name, use chapter and the number. I'll explain why in a moment. For the slug, use chapter-number in lowercase. And finally, in the description, you can enter the actual name you want to call the chapter. I'm just going to skip that for now. Now we'll do a page refresh. That's better. When you click on the chapter titles, you're taken to the first page of that chapter. In this case, it's the Hello World example post. Let's change that to an actual comic page. Post your first comic page. Just like for About, we can simply edit this Hello World post. Change the name. Page 1. Change the slug. Page -1 in lowercase. Delete the existing text and... Oh, this is important. Make sure for comics that the format is set to image. That will bring up a featured image box down here, which you'll use to attach your actual comic JPEG. Click on Set Featured Image. Go to the folder with your comic JPEGs. Drag the file onto the window and it will automatically upload. Alt text is where you can describe your page for screen readers. Title you can leave as is. Caption doesn't really display for comic pages, nor does description, but they will display for character and gallery pages later. Now you can set the featured image and it will display a thumbnail. If you want to include character tags, you can do so here by entering the characters' names separated by commas. I usually use all lowercase. The excerpt is a brief description of the comic page, but usually the description in the main window will be short enough to use as an excerpt. Now you can change the date to something in the past or schedule it in the future. If you're uploading a lot of old pages, you'll likely be setting the date to the past quite a bit. And update. Let's go have a look. Refresh the page, and there it is. Name, description, chapter, character tags, and the publish date. Great! Let's add another one. Go back to the admin and click on Add New. Since this is a new page, you can enter the page number here and the address slug will update automatically. Now if you want to change the title to something other than Page 2, you can do so, but the address slug will stay Page-2. I'll just leave it as Page 2 for now. Enter the page description. Make sure to set the format to image. Set the featured image. Drag the JPEG to the browser window. Do any text stuff. Click the button. See how it says Chapter 1? Now, can you imagine if instead it just said the name of the chapter and you'd have to remember which chapter is which? This is why you list the categories as Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and so on, and let the category description hold the actual chapter name. Add character tags. Joe and Gabor separated by a comma. Click Add. I'm going to change the date again to the past. Click OK, and everything looks good. Click Publish. Let's go have a look. After a refresh, we can see that some of the navigation arrows are now clickable. Click. Here's Page 2. Set a default format. To make things a little easier when posting comic pages, let's go back to Settings and Writing. Here, where it says Default Post Format, select Image. I'm sorry my screen capture doesn't capture pop-up buttons. Anyway, click Save Changes. Now by default, the featured image box will always be visible when you're posting a comic. Delete that comment. There's a stray comment from the Hello World post that can be deleted. So if we click on Comments, we can delete that example comment. Trash. There we go. No comments. Characters page. If you click on a character tag, you'll go to an archive of all the comic pages that character is on. Pages featuring Joe. Now let's make a characters page so readers can learn a little more about Joe. Go to Pages, Add New. Call it Characters, and select the Gallery format. Now a window called Attached Images shows up. Click on Add Media to upload your JPEGs. Just like before, drag the file onto the browser window to upload. Now we're actually going to use caption and description. For caption, enter the full name of the character. And for description, enter the description of the character. And you can use the alt text to describe the image. Now, don't click Insert into Page. Instead, just close the Add Media window by clicking the X up here. Nothing will happen until you click Publish. After the page is published, you'll see in the Attached Images box the character JPEG you just uploaded. But what about the text box here? If I write something, will it show up on the characters page? Let's update and find out. Refresh. Now there's a characters link. But notice that Joe's name has also become a clickable link. So let's click that. She has a page now. Name, description, and additional links to all the pages she's in, her first appearance, her most recent appearance, and a link to the main characters page, where we can see that the text we wrote does indeed show up on the page. So let's just change that real quick. The main cast of Threads from the Blue Rock Tapestry. And update. What's nice about this setup is that every character can have a tag, but not every character has to have their own biography page. Let's add some more characters. Okay, Gabor, Aziza, and Madeline. Enter all their pertinent information in the text boxes. Finish all the descriptions. Don't click Insert into Page. Just close the window on the X. Then click Update. And there they are. Let's have a look. Very nice. But suppose you want to display them in a different order, like alphabetically or something. Well, go back to Add Media. Up here where it says All Media Items, change that to Uploaded to this post. Now, just drag the images to the position you want them in. Close the window with the X, click Update, and presto, rearranged. On the front end, a quick refresh, and as you can see, rearranged here too. Gallery page. What if you have art you've made or fan art from others that you want to display? Well, we can simply add a gallery page. In the admin section, we'll just create a new page. Let's call it Gallery. Enter a description for the page. Make sure to set it to the gallery format over here. Then upload all the images you want to display in the gallery and add their text information. This process is exactly the same as the characters page. Don't click the Insert into Page button. Go up here and click the X instead. Once you have everything uploaded, click Publish, and your images will show up in the Attached Images window. Now we can go to the front end and refresh. And there it is. The gallery displays in a grid instead of a list. Clicking on a thumbnail will take you to that image's details page. Just like with the characters page, the gallery page images can be rearranged in the admin section to suit your needs. Create a news category. Go to Posts, Categories, and here under Add New Category, we'll put News with a capital N, News in all lowercase, and a description if you want one. Then click Add New Category. Now, news is an update, just like a comic is an update, so it goes under Posts. We'll add a new post, and here we don't have to worry about a correct page number, so just call the news update what you want, and the address slug will be created automatically. Sometimes you might want to post a news update on a day that isn't your scheduled update day. This is the category for that. The catch is you must use the aside format. Otherwise, your news post will show up in your comic, and that would be weird. So make sure to select Aside here and News here. And if you want to add an image to the news post, click Add Media, and this is when you'll actually click on Insert into Post. By doing so, an HTML image tag will appear in the text window. Now you can click Publish. And here's how it will look on the front end. There it is. Click on the headline and you can see the full post. That's looking a little dense with the article and the sidebar having the exact same text. Maybe an excerpt would be better. So in the excerpt text box, go ahead and write a brief description of the news post. Then Update. Now if we refresh, the sidebar isn't quite so redundant. Links page. Maybe you want a dedicated page of links to other comics or websites you enjoy. This theme has you covered. Add a new page and call it Links. Add whatever text description you want. Make sure the format here is set to Standard and Publish. A quick refresh on the front end, and there's the links page. But it's distinctly lacking in links, so let's fix that. Go back to the admin page and click on the Links menu, and we'll add a new link. Give it a name. I'll use my webcomic. Type in the URL. Write a description. Create a category or add it to an existing category. I'll call this Webcomics. The blank target will open the link in a new tab or window. The top target opens the link in the same window, and none kind of does the same thing as top. I usually choose blank. Link relationship, you can ignore that. So let's just minimize it. And image address. If you want to include a banner, for example, I'll get to it in just a moment. For now, scroll up and click Add Link. Refresh the front end, and there's your link listed under its category. Let's add that banner image now. Go back to the admin and click on the Media menu. Now get your banner images and drag them into the browser window. You can drag more than one at a time. I just haven't been for the tutorial. Now click on the thumbnail of the banner you want to use, and it will display its URL right here. Click this button to copy the URL, and then we can close this, go back to the Links menu, edit the link, and then scroll down and paste the URL in the image address text box. Then scroll back up and update the link. Now, if you refresh the front end, you'll see the banner image. You know what? I think I want to use the small banner instead. So go to Media, click the small banner thumbnail, copy the URL, close the window, go back to Links, edit the link, paste the new URL, and update. That's it. And speaking of banners, you can always click on the top banner of the website to go back to the home page. Sidebar menu. These are the 5 pre-built page templates that come with this theme: Home, About, Characters, Gallery, Links. But suppose you want to add a page that isn't one of these 5. You'll need to make a different menu. Fortunately, this theme can do that. Go to Appearance, Menus to create your own custom sidebar menu. I'm just going to bulk select the existing pages, call this Sidebar, and click Create Menu. This menu will display on the sidebar, and if you want to automatically add new pages to it, just check this box here. Don't forget to save again. So, let's see what this looks like. There it is. Oh, and it's literally called Sidebar. Okay, let's just change that. How about we call it Navigation instead? Save. Refresh. That's better. Now let me show you what happens when you add a new page. Page, add new, content, blah, 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 blah. Publish. Refresh. And there it is, automatically added to the bottom of your sidebar navigation menu. And if you click on it, there's your content page. Theme customization. The blue and green is fine, I guess, but can this generic webcomic template look maybe a little less generic? Yes, it can. In the admin, go to Appearance, Customize. Here you'll see a live preview of the homepage and a few options that you can edit. Let's change the header image. The title and background images are separate, so if your title image is narrow enough, you can position it left, center, or right. I'm going to choose center. Now to add my title image. And presto, there's my new title image. But that background isn't going to work for me. That's better. Let's try changing the vertical size. Smaller. Smaller. That looks good. And maybe set the main menu to the center as well. Or justified? No, center. Now I can go back and change the color palette. There are a few presets to choose from, and each color can be customized. For now, I'm going with dark roast. I'll leave you to explore the other color options. Menus is another way that you can edit your sidebar navigation menu. And finally, Footer gives you options to change your copyright credit name, which defaults to the name of your comic site. Let's just put my name there instead. And if you don't want to include the credit link for my theme, you can turn that off. But it would be awesome if you left it on. And I'll put the footer text in the center to match the top. And when you're finished with the edits, click Publish to make your changes live. Refresh. And there it is. Preparing the database. Once you have your local website set up the way you want it, it's time to start preparing it for upload to the internet. This requires making a handful of changes to the database and one of the WordPress files. So go back to MAMP, which should still be running, and open the Web Start page. Open up PHPMyAdmin and select your webcomic database. Now what you want to do is export this as a file. So click on Export, leave all the settings as is, and click Go. PHPMyAdmin will generate a text copy of your database that will get downloaded into your Downloads folder. Right-click on webcomic.sql and select Edit with Notepad++ or BBEdit if you're on a Mac. Now, using the Find and Replace function, change webcomic.local to whatever the domain is for your comic online, yourwebsitename.com or whatever. And then click Replace All. Here you can see it made 98 changes. You'll probably have a lot more than that. Now, if I just scroll down a bit, where is it? This is the URL for my banner image. It says yourwebsitename.com instead of webcomic.local, which means it'll have the correct address when it moves to its new home on the internet. That's important because you don't want to have a bunch of broken links all pointing to an address that only exists on your hard drive. Anyway, save these changes and close. Make sure you keep this file in an easy-to-find location because you'll need it when you create your database on your web hosting server. So how does that work? Each web hosting company will have different ways of creating and accessing a database, typically through some kind of control panel. I can give you a general overview of these steps, but for best results, check your hosting company's help pages for more specific instructions. Log in to your website host control panel. There, you should see an option for databases. Click that. Now you can create a new database. Choose the domain for the database, then enter a name for it. You'll probably also have to create a database user. We'll keep Sparky for now. The control panel will provide a prefix number which will be added to the database name and username, so make sure you note that information down. Once you have things the way you want, click Create New Database. Now click on the 123456 _ webcomic link here. It will take you to the details page for that database. Notice that it says it's a MariaDB and not a MySQL. Don't worry about that. They are compatible with each other. Click the link here and you can log into the online PHPMyAdmin page using your created user, 123456 _ Sparky, and password. Click Go, and you'll be back to the familiar interface of PHPMyAdmin. I'm going to use my local PHPMyAdmin to demonstrate what to do next. To import your local database to your online one, click on Import up here. Then you want to browse to the location of your SQL file, which for me is still in my Downloads folder. Then you can skip all this and click Go. Your modified database will import, and if all goes well, you'll see the tables display on the left here. And since I'm doing this on my local server, I can show you that the tables for each database are the same. I can click on WP Options here, and you can see the URL is yourwebsitename.com. While on the original database, it's still webcomic.local. Great! So your online database is now ready. But there are a couple changes WordPress itself needs for everything to work. Preparing wp-config.php. Let's open up the Sites folder. Here you want to open up the webcomic folder and then the WordPress folder and make a copy of the wp-config.php file. Then open the original in Notepad++. Here, next to all the Define settings, you want to enter the information for your database online. Change this to your online database name. In my example, that's 123456 _ webcomic. Your online database user, 123456 _ Sparky. Sparky's online password, and change localhost to the online address right here. Then save. Move the wp-config copy to the desktop temporarily so you don't upload it unintentionally. Now you're ready to upload your website files. FTP upload. Your hosting provider will supply you with all the information you'll need to log into your FTP server. Once WordPress is uploaded, you'll be able to manage all of your future file uploading through the WordPress admin. If you're uploading on a Mac, use the keyboard shortcut Shift-Command-, in the Finder to show hidden files. Because there is a file called .htaccess that must get uploaded for the website links to work properly. Go ahead and open up your FTP client. Enter your login and directory address information here and click Connect. Your FTP client will verify your credentials and connect you to the server. Now it's a simple drag and drop to begin copying your webcomic site files to the internet. It'll take however long it takes, depending on your website size and your internet connection. But once it's uploaded, you can disconnect and check to see if everything is working. So let's open the browser. I'm actually going to yourwebsitename.mora, which is on my MacBook Pro, so just pretend .mora is .com. Okay. The site uploaded. Let's see. Sidebar navigation. News. Cool. I'll go to About. New chapter titles. Nice. Page 1. Page 2. Character tags. Very nice. Click on Joe. There's Joe. Go back to characters. Okay, looks like everything is working. All done. And with that, your WordPress-based comics website is now online. Now you can update on your own schedule with as many or as few pages as you choose. I leave it to you to figure out how to monetize your comics site, as ads are not something I personally include on mine. Maybe I'm relying too much on the warm kindness of others and not the cold machinery of capitalism, but that's just me. I made this tutorial because I'm a webcomics creator myself, and I wanted to give something to the webcomics community. I understand some webcomics platforms are being a little difficult at the moment, so I hope this tutorial might help some of you set out on your own with your comics online. Now, I'm really bad at responding quickly to comments here on YouTube, so if you are using this tutorial, come and say hi to me over on Twitter @ElJohara. As of September 2022, this video is the longest one I've ever made. It took some time and effort for me to put this together, and if you'd like to toss a coin to your tutor, I've got a Patreon and a Ko-Fi that I rarely update. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, stand up and walk to the kitchen to get yourself a snack or a glass of water. Maybe do some stretches too. Thanks so much for watching.